I've been playing outdoors since I was a kid, standing by the front door at around 2 years old, hollering, side, 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 trying to get my mom to let me go play outside. Now, after 30 plus years working in the outdoor business, I'm dropping insider conversations every week with the brand leaders, guides, marketers, CEOs, and others to make the outdoor industry a trillion-dollar juggernaut that drives product innovation, revenue, and public policy for everything outdoors. I'm Rick Sayes. Welcome to the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Hello again, everyone. Happy Tuesday, and welcome to episode 446 of the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Buttnski founder Kelly Mazanti. After leaving her corporate life in 2017, Kelly founded a brand design and strategy company, Pier Collective, which she ran for 5 years between LA and Breckenridge. She is an alumni of the CU Boulder Leeds School of Business with a degree in marketing and management, and recently had the opportunity to participate as a Capstone partner with the CU Boulder Masters of the Environment program. Welcome to the show, Kelly.
Thanks for having me, Rick. I'm excited to be here chatting with you.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun conversation. We first met and I don't think we've met in person, but we talked at the Colorado Startup Group a while back, right?
Yes, it was probably a year and a half ago. And I actually wanted to mention it because it's so funny. I feel like I've met you in person because that whole community of people feels that way. And it's the Startup Colorado Network, and they do such a great job connecting people, especially focused in rural areas. And that's how I happened upon the call that I think you were the keynote on. It was like a lean coffee virtual. And you were talking about how to podcast as a marketing tool.
Yeah. Did anybody, how many people have podcasts in that group? Do you know?
Well, they started their podcast, the Startup Colorado, and I don't know that they had it before, but I don't know. I think some more people need to start podcasts. I'm actually ready to start
100%.
mine back up. Yeah, I'm going to need some tips on how to make it easier than my last one was.
Oh, did you have trouble with the last one?
Well, I had a podcast through my previous business that I started, and I had a friend helping me with the production. And that was really, I realized how much work it was. And if there's a way to simplify that, I would do it again. But until I have a team of people helping me with the production and edits, I'm not up for it. Yeah. I'll leave that to you. Yeah.
There's, I can turn you on to some people that do that. There's a lot of people that do that. I don't do that because I do all the other things to keep my podcast going. So it's, and if you're going to do a lot of things like have a newsletter and all the things, it takes a chunk of time. But I'm retired now. I have nothing else to do. So it's,
you're officially retired?
Officially retired about 4 or 5 months ago. What is this? This is May. Yeah, about 4 or 5 months ago. Yeah, it's awesome.
Congratulations. Because I remember, listening to you on the podcast like over the last year, and I knew you were working a job in addition to this. So that's a big deal.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's I probably was not ready at that time, but some things happened at the company and stuff, and just worked out to, I could get out of that. And the podcast is starting to bring in a few bucks, so I'm hoping that continues to grow. But yeah, it's been fantastic. I dig it.
Living your best life.
Yeah, that's right. And it's amazing what the daily job, how that changes, when you don't have it. I mean, not that I don't sleep in or I don't sleep in or anything. I'm so busy, but it just gives you all these other things that you have time that you wanted to get to that now you have time to get to.
Right. What's the best thing about it that you've found you're spending time on?
Probably more time outside, just, hiking and I haven't been taking photos as much because it's kind of in between seasons, but I'll get the camera back out and, fishing starting to pick up. So all those things that, you used to have to catch after work or on the weekends. It's fantastic. Yeah.
Good for you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So if you're thinking about it, anybody, do it. Don't wait.
Yeah. Get retired. Do it now.
Get retired. Do it now. So let's start off with your very first outdoor activity. What was that?
Well, it's funny. I've listened to people on your podcast talk about how in some cases they didn't grow up doing outdoors things. And it's so interesting to hear how they got into it later in life. I did grow up in the Pacific Northwest in Washington State. And so from as long as I can remember, I was snow skiing, backpacking, camping in the rain, also skiing in the rain with garbage bags on at Stevens Pass in Washington.
I heard about that. I never did that, but I heard of it.
Oh, it's a blast. You got to experience it at least once. And then I asked my parents, I said, what was your first memory? And they threw out a few things, but the whole skiing in the backpack back then when it was legal. So my dad said, you were skiing in a backpack and I was in 2 feet of powder, and I took a head and rolled a few times and turned you into a snow girl. So that might have contributed to how I am now. I don't know.
No, that's pretty funny though. Wow.
It's pretty fun. I mean, you don't see that anymore. You know, nobody's got their baby. And I started skiing when I was in diapers, but before that I was in a backpack while they were having fun. So, and when my mom was pregnant, I was in her belly skiing. So there's a lot of fun memories.
That probably depends on where you live though, don't you think? I think we see that out here. I don't ski anymore, but I think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, maybe at the more established resorts, they probably don't let you get on the gondola.
Yeah,
if they see
probably.
A kid in the backpack.
Yeah. Liability.
And it's funny, Stevens Pass used to be a locals resort, and now it's owned by Vail. So it's pretty funny to think I grew up skiing there, and it's now a big deal.
Yeah, it's the way it is at Mammoth. Mammoth used to be its own independent, and I don't even know who. I think I don't even know who owns it. I can't even remember. Yeah. It's a big monstrosity now. So
I appreciate the smaller places now that I'm older and don't need all the hoopla of like the. Right. I mean, I still ski at Breckenridge most of the time. That's closest to my house, but it's fun to go to those independent resorts that have low infrastructure and are just really low key, and you can just walk from where you park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Those
How many days a year days of season do you get in skiing, do you think?
Oh gosh, not enough, but it feels like enough because we're doing so many other activities. We have 2 huskies also. So we're cross country skiing with them and fat biking. And so resort days, I mean, it could be like no more than 20 or 30, I guess, but I try to pick the good weather days. So I'm pretty choosy.
There you go. Yeah. Well, that's the beauty of living near a resort, right? You can be choosy. Yeah.
Yeah. And you kind of like, hey, we got a couple hours. Let's go. And sometimes you take 2 runs and look at each other and realize it's not worth it. And you go home and that's fine. But it's funny because I recently started mountain biking in the last couple of years, and my girlfriends and I last night went on a ride, and we were talking about, ski days versus biking days. And we all love skiing and they love snowboarding, but it's just, you can do it fewer days at the resort is kind of the consensus. Whereas if we're not biking several days a week in the summer, we feel like we're really missing out, or we don't feel like we're getting out there enough.
So you don't miss the skiing. That's interesting.
I don't know. There's, rec center saunas to go to and stuff like that in the winter. So, but we get out in backcountry and, there's other ways we're getting outside rather than just resort days, which is awesome. There's almost too many sports to do when you live, and it's overwhelming.
Yeah, I hear you. Same thing here. We have we have both the valley, which is fishing and hiking and biking, and then you can go into the mountains with the climbing and the skiing, and just never ending. It's the too much fun days. You do it. See how many you can fit in one day. So,
and I have to work. Some of us have to work.
Have to work, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm pretty reluctant to go on the weekends, but I have found that actually Sunday afternoons are pretty good. They don't have the crowds that the Friday and Saturday has. So I've dabbled on a few of those days.
That's good.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about Buttnski, the inspiration for Buttnski. That came from your mom, right?
Did you? It did.
Okay, I had that right.
So, have you ever heard the saying, stop being a Buttnski?
Yeah, I think I have. Yeah.
Maybe your grandma said it too.
Or butthead.
Or butthead. It's a butthead. It's to butt in or be an imp or a butthead. Right.
Interrupt. I got that. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I pronounce it the way I do, because it's an actual word. And we changed the letters to have a play on words in the brand name Buttnski.
Is it
but
B-U-D-D?
It's also, well, it's Buttinsky.
Oh, S-K-Y. Okay. Gotcha.
So it's like Buttnski. Cool. But so we were like, well, my mom had these fleece shorts from the 80s that when I moved up here in 2019 to Summit County, which is, for those of you who don't know, it's just up I-70 from Denver in Colorado, and it's near Breckenridge and Copper Mountain. So it's kind of in this little valley with a bunch of cool resorts and lots of big mountains. My parents were also living up here, and I would see her in these shorts before she put her ski pants on. She'd have these crazy fleece shorts over her long underwear. And I remembered them from being a kid growing up at home. And I just couldn't believe she still had them. And so I was joking around, and I said, like, why do you even still have those? I can't believe they haven't disintegrated like a baby blanket, when you wash it. And she said because they work, they keep my butt warm on cold chairlifts when I'm skiing. And I haven't found anything else that works like this. So we were just joking around, and especially kind of the winter right before COVID was happening, before we knew it was a thing. It's kind of a coincidence, but we were just playing around with like, somebody should make these shorts, and why not us? So we didn't really intend to start a clothing brand, but I can't help myself. So once I started doing the one thing, I realized it was going to be a whole brand, and I wanted to grow a brand and a product line and start with women first.
So what was the first product like? Do you have any iterations did it take to get something you liked?
Really ugly. Really ugly. The opposite of what I was going for. And I think I probably have 5 or 6 of the OG shorts, which is what we called them because my mom is the OG.
Right.
And, basically a little bit about how that happened is my brother's been in the outdoor industry for his whole career, and we're best friends from forever. And so I said, okay, if I'm going to do this, like, what do I do first? How do I make a prototype or a sample? So he's the one who got us introduced to a pattern maker down in Boulder.
Smart.
And she was awesome. They worked at Pearl Izumi together, and he stayed in touch with her. And then she kind of helped us. She said, just come to me with material and I'll whip something up for you, whatever you want. So then we kind of shook our heads and said, I wonder if we could do this with Colorado wool, and started calling sheep farmers, and no one called us back.
Oh, no.
So then we kind of put the idea on hold from like 2020 until the following fall of 2021, because we were sort of stumped. We didn't know what to do, and we kind of got busy doing our other jobs, which we both owned other businesses at the time.
Right.
Then we kind of went on this mud season little trip to kind of unplug before winter started, and we weren't on our phones, and we kind of got started talking about this idea because during 2020 we created the branding for Buttnski and the logo. So we were really excited about it, but we didn't know where to find the materials. And so we started thinking there's got to be materials that already exist that would work for this. And of course there are. So
bunches of them.
Like Polar Tech, for example, we thought, they must have some 4-way stretch material. So that's when we got back in touch with her. Her name's Jenny, and said, well, do you know someone who could help us get the material?
This is the pattern maker? Jenny's the pattern maker?
Exactly. Okay, Jenny's the pattern maker. Do you know someone who could help us get the material so that you could use it and make us the sample, or make us the pattern so that you can make a sample? And that's when it all really started. And then in 2022, January, we went to Outdoor Retailer in Denver with this woman, Patty Nielsen, who's amazing. She's a product developer and designer out of Boulder. And she helped us really start the shorts. And then we knew we wanted to do a down pant. And originally it was going to be like a warmer mid layer, but it turned into a full jogger because it was too puffy and we liked the way it looked. So we just decided to start with those 2 products.
So the first stuff you made at home just didn't work. Well, or did you make any at home?
I didn't make it because I actually I can't do any drawing or anything with my hands that's creative. My creative stuff is more in my head, and then I need a designer to execute it. But Jenny helped us sew the first prototypes, and she did a great job. But when you're sewing on a home machine versus like an industrial machine with the stitches, it's completely different. And she had to explain to me, don't worry, this is going to look different, And,
yeah.
And then we started working on the joggers, the down pants with a manufacturer in the US. And the first sample just looked so silly. And Patty had to explain to me how the prototyping process works. Cause I don't know any of this. I'm learning as I go.
Yeah.
And
it's a good thing you had her.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, don't worry, it's supposed to not look like the finished product. So that was a relief. And then we got better from there.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And so how long did you, from the first, proto that you liked to selling it?
Yeah, it took us a little over a year to get those 2 products ready to go into production. And that whole process would be way faster if we were, full-time doing it at that point. And we had a team of people on salary. So it was a lot of back and forth communication with manufacturers that we found to work with, and we wanted
Did you
to
find
keep it.
were those? Sorry, I keep interrupting you. Were those local manufacturers?
Yes. So when it was really cool. We were at Outdoor Retailer, like I said, in January of 2022, and because it had been post COVID, it changed a lot for any of you who went to that show. It was tiny, but for us, it was a great advantage because people were willing, like the fabric suppliers and textile suppliers were willing to talk to us, and they were willing to not have huge minimums and that sort of thing. So we walked up to our now down supplier and they said, who do you want to work with? Local factory or someone overseas? And I just said, if we can keep it in the US, if that's even possible, that would be great.
Nice.
So she found us somebody to start with. And then we've since moved on to someone in Vancouver, Canada. But we are working with someone in Los Angeles for our shorts because it's a different process. It's a cut and sew versus a very technical down blowing garment production process.
So COVID was beneficial to you guys. You're probably one of the few folks that said, hey, this is awesome.
It would have been even more beneficial if we had started the process during that time when it was really downtime, but it did turn out.
Yeah.
It turned out to benefit us and people being willing to talk to us because it was only local people who really came to that first show back. So it's pretty interesting because
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, what I've learned is people usually aren't willing to talk to people like us. Yeah. And everyone's like, how did you get to work with them? Or how did you have that conversation?
Takes years sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm like, I don't know. I just got to the first right person and then asked for the next right person. And my brother started it all. Without him, there's no way this would have even gotten to where it is.
Yeah. That's very cool. So who were some of your first customers? Did you just sell wholesale or did you have some retailers right out of the gate?
We forced our family to buy things from us.
That's always good. I forced my family to buy many photographic prints of mine.
This will look great in your house.
Exactly.
And they were really supportive. So my husband and my family both supported us. And he has a sister also in Anchorage, Alaska. So she got a few orders from her girlfriends up there. And we basically we did a round of pre-orders just with friends and family. And I was really grateful that we didn't extend it out, nor would we have been able to, because not enough people would have known about us. But what happened is it was so, you can probably hear my husky squeaking in the background. She's yelling outside.
Can't hear it.
Oh, good. It was so delayed because our small order got deprioritized over and over. And so if it had been anyone other than friends or family, they may not have been so
retailers wouldn't
understanding
about that, right?
Yeah. So they were our first customers. And then I did end up getting a retailer. That was my first retailer for last year on Main Street in Breckenridge, which is the Mountain Goat.
Cool. Oh yeah,
and
cool. Been there. Yeah.
Do you know them?
I don't know them, but I've been there many times. Yeah.
Jen and Pete, they're the owners and they're the only ones working in the store. They just are amazing and their merchandising is gorgeous. It's like,
have they been there a long time? They've been there for a while, right?
I think so. Yeah. And I think they've been there for several years, if not longer. And I walked in
I'm sure I've met them before on one of my.
They probably were there when you walked in because they don't.
Trips,
they kind of gave up on trying to find employees who stick around, I think.
Good for them. Well, maybe not good for them, but yeah, at least they realized
we are stuck here.
Yeah.
But I walked in, I think in June when I finally had my pre-orders arrive, and June going into the fall coming up, like it's too late for people to buy for that season. But I still went in and I said, hey, are the buyers here? I had no idea what I was doing.
That's how you do it.
And they said, well, we're the owners. So we seem like the right people that you're looking for. And what do you have,
Yeah.
So they looked at our product and right away said, yep, we'll take the joggers in the cream color because a lot of their customers are people traveling and visiting Breckenridge, and they don't carry many things in just black. They like color and lighter colored things. So they sold through that run in the fall. And I think their first pair flew off the rack in August, the day I dropped the order off, 2 hours after they put it up. And it was like an 80-degree day in Breckenridge, and they sold a pair of down pants. So it was a great first retail partnership.
Exactly. That's pretty cool. And they're still a retailer of yours today, I bet.
They are. Yeah. We're working on fall right now. And I'm also working on getting some other accounts around the mountains in Colorado. I have a retailer in Crested Butte that's amazing that started with us mid-season this year, and a rep in the Pacific Northwest that I'm starting to work with. So we're starting to get into retail, and I've just found that people are so willing to hear what you have to say and support a local brand. It's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you get that. You guys have that single, single issue right there is what the biggest thing you have going for you, because people always want to support local, and even folks that aren't local want to support other brands from local.
They love it.
They love it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a sense of place when you walk in. If you're from, let's say, Texas, and you're in Breckenridge and it says local women-owned brand,
Yeah.
And it's cool and exciting. So I find the same thing as a consumer. I'd rather buy that than a big box.
Yeah, because it's a smaller business typically, and a lot of times you call and you talk to the owner, whereas some of these other companies that have gotten so big, you don't even know who the owner is anymore. So,
right,
good for you guys. That's very cool.
Thanks. And then people have found us in weird ways, like from Florida.
You sell online?
We do. We have our online website that people can buy on, and then like I said, we're just going to try to get into more retailers so that we can get more brand awareness, because that's really the hardest part about being small and not having won the Olympics. If I had won the Olympics, right. I'd have a lot more going for me with this brand.
Well, not all of us get to have those big life moments, so we got to bootstrap.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you bootstrap it, you learn a lot more, right? It means more to you.
Oh yeah. I'm learning every day, and I'm learning things I didn't know I wanted to learn, like customs. When we switched to Vancouver, Canada, our order got held up for about a month in customs, and I had to go through these crazy channels to tell people that said, oh no, it's fine. Like I had to figure out what the right questions were to ask, because everyone was telling me it's fine and it's going to move, but it wasn't moving. So I have a customs broker now, and this cool network of people in Colorado that are so supportive of especially rural founders in the outdoor industry. I sent them a note and said, what do I do? I've talked to FedEx. I'm not getting anywhere. And within minutes, they got me connected to someone at the World Trade Center in Denver.
Awesome.
And then that person called me right away, and then immediately recommended a customs broker to me, who's also a woman and has a women-owned business in Denver. And she got it done. That's great. Yeah. But I cried a lot during that process.
Well, yeah, I think when you start anything, you cry a lot, right? I mean, it's even you look back on it and, it looks like it was wham, bam, pretty smooth and not a big deal. But then you realize some of the days were very hard. I'm sure some of the weeks, and that's just part of doing something that's worth doing.
Right. And just the answers you don't have to things that no one seems to have an answer for you, like this customs paperwork that I had to fill out to get started. It's like a college report. It feels like
in a foreign language.
Yeah. And I'm asking these questions that, she thinks are so obvious. You should know the answer, and nothing makes sense because you've never seen it before. So I'm getting a master's degree, and it is costing me money.
Right. You're not paying tuition, but you're paying money a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell us about your process of sourcing materials, particularly finding sustainable, durable products, materials that you can use. That's got to be pretty tough.
It is, but there's definitely, I heard someone saying, I think it was Lava Linens down in Boulder. She was saying they started off kind of earlier than these people started popping up, but now there's so many choices of good textiles that they can source from. And I found the same thing. So what happened was, our first round of joggers, I didn't ask the question of, are these PFAS free? I didn't think that would be even an issue, especially making them in the US. And come to find out, the nylon, that was because they sort of helped us elect some materials to just guide us a little bit. And come to find out, it wasn't. And so I immediately, when I started working with this new partner, I said, where do I get a nylon that's similar to what we're using, that's downproof, so the down doesn't poke through, and I need it to be PFAS free. And so they got me in touch with their supplier, who it turns out they supply materials for a lot of technical garments. Mm-hmm. And they have a whole laundry list of things. And they also have lots of options. So, first I have this criteria of definitely we won't go there kind of things that have to be met.
Yeah. Good.
And that was actually something I got to be a capstone project with the CU Boulder Masters of the Environment program.
Oh, cool.
Which was awesome because I graduated from CU barely. And now I got to be a capstone partner with their master's students, which was hilarious. And they are so smart, and they have the most amazing advisors and support. So they helped me build out a sustainability plan for the business, and basically saying, what's an ethical supplier? If they don't have these certifications, you can ask these questions to figure out if you could still work with them. Because, a lot of the certifications cost a lot of money to get, and it doesn't mean it's not a good supplier. So in this particular case with the nylon, the supplier was able to offer us, do you want recycled or not? And we said, yes, 100% recycled, blue sign certified, and the Ocotex. I can never say that word correctly.
I don't know that one. That's a new
but
one
basically, you could be on like the lower end of that spectrum and just have recycled PFAS free, or you could be on the end that we chose, which was the most expensive option, which is checking all those boxes on the material.
Interesting. Okay. That's good to know. Yeah.
And it's pretty interesting because making a fabric downproof is historically that process of PFAS, which is a chemical coating process, and it's really harmful to people and the environment, as you know. But
that's forever.
And then there's these new techniques that are like oil-based and interesting ways that they seal the material. So I'm learning this constant learning.
Yeah, but that's good because it's once you learn all those things, it's maybe, arduous process going through the learning and, new terminology and new things. But at the end of the day, you're going to come out with a way better product, and you're going to have a way better business because all the stuff that's in that way better product.
Exactly. And, you just have to ask for help. So like the people who are helping us manufacture our down joggers, I have to get eyelets for the drawstrings. And one thing I've learned through this process is some of our fabric suppliers. So even with 2 products right now, we probably have, I don't know, over a dozen things between the fabrics and the trims, and trims
the findings and all that stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Like drawstrings, eyelets, woven labels, inside care and content labels. And they've helped me figure out who to
What do you have,
go
hang
to.
tags? You have hang tags and all that stuff.
Yes. I'm using a local company out of Louisville, Colorado that they were recommended by the Prana Responsible Packaging movement. So that's who I try to work with on all of my packaging. And they do a great job with, eco-friendly things. But I found that some of our materials, we were going kind of through a middleman. So now we're getting closer to the source on things like drawstrings. And, a lot of these companies in the US, it's a feel good thing that, you're getting them from the US, but they're not, a lot of them aren't really making them here. They're just holding on to them from the other part of the supply chain. So
no, good for you. That's awesome.
It's a constant process of refining and learning. And I love it. That part's really fun.
Yeah. And you're getting a master's degree, right? And you're going to be able to, who knows what's next? I mean, Buttnski could be a lot of other interesting things. We don't want to start spitballing that because we could go down a rabbit hole. But I bet you think about it a lot.
I think about the future. Like I may never retire because I might become a supply chain expert,
There you go. There you go. You never know. Think organic groceries are too expensive? So does Thrive Market. They guarantee savings on healthy groceries and home essentials delivered. How? It's easy. They work directly with the best organic brands so you get the highest quality products without the big retail markups. Shop everything from pantry essentials to sustainable meat and food to non-toxic cleaning supplies. And get 30% off your first order and a free gift when you join Thrive Market. Go to ricksays.com/Thrive Market and get your membership today. That's ricksays.com/Thrive Market. Now back to the show.
I do have a funny story, though, about supply chain. So we are using U.S. fully traceable down, and it meets the highest standard of responsible sourcing of down. And with that whole customs debacle, the customs broker said, do you happen to have any animal products in your product? And that was a red flag for her, because she was thinking there's a reason it's being held up and not moving. And it turned out we had to get fish and game, or fish and wildlife, involved in the customs thing. And then they had to get the information from the place where we're using duck. So at this point in the game, duck and goose and some people are probably going to argue with me, and that's fine. But duck and goose, if you use the certain quality, they're pretty much comparable now. It's not like, oh, you're not using goose down. So we had pictures of the ducks from birth almost all the way to their death certificate. And I just want to clarify for everyone, part of using responsibly sourced down is that it's a byproduct of the food industry. So there is no harm of the animals because of the down we're getting. They're being used for food. And so then the feathers would go in the garbage if they weren't being purchased from a supplier, like our down supplier. So, but anyway, we had to send pictures of those little things getting born and walking around.
Right.
And
you had to prove it all. Right.
Approval.
Yeah.
So that was pretty hilarious. And I'm learning that in the supply chain, there's a whole, so the market value for down and goose feathers goes up or down depending on the demand for that food.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting once you get down that rabbit hole, the things that you'll learn about, and if you get into different products, you'll learn about different animals and different locations, and it's and I'll bet it's 100 times harder than when I was doing it, because there's all these other, rightfully so, environmental things that everybody's focused on now. When back in the day, God knows what was going on with the Cordura that was first produced. So
right,
it's interesting. What do you think the biggest challenge has been that you faced?
Oh my gosh, if we had a pile of money, this whole thing would be no problem, and a lot of, it's funny because a lot of people have said, I don't usually, like I mentioned before, I don't usually give people like you the time of day, because you get excited about this idea you have, but in reality, you're not going to be able to follow through, because you're going to realize how much money it costs and not be able to do it and hit a wall. And we've definitely hit the wall a couple times and just continued pushing, breaking it down. And it's scary because, you get pretty leveraged in the process.
You mortgage the house and, oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So, and a lot of friends and family don't really understand that if they're not on this.
You're doing
so they think,
what? Yeah.
You just sold a pair of pants. You must be doing great, and it's like, well, of course that feels great that there's traction. Don't get me wrong. But
I made $5. Yippee.
I think, for people to understand how much money you have to put into this thing to build this kind of a business. So that's what we've been learning is, if we had, a lot of people told us, if you had 1.5 million to start out a product company, you'd be in pretty good shape, because you'd be able to do your product development, get the product line pretty well dialed in, even if it's a small product line, and meet some minimums from the manufacturers so you can get priority on your orders being done in time. And then you hit your first season and you really just need to do marketing, kind of. That's kind of the gist of it. But to sell that much product. But the second thing with that is meeting minimum order quantities. And we've been fortunate to find suppliers who don't necessarily abide by minimums.
Smaller suppliers. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And so then it's amazing, because you can do 25 or 50, which is sort of how we started with our friends and family pre-order. The trade-off is it's more expensive per piece. So the labor cost is way higher.
Yeah.
So
it takes a lot longer to get to those big numbers. I mean, but like you say, there's a lot of folks that have these little cottage industries that start these little ideas like you had. And next thing you know, there's, 5 years on and they've got 20 by 20 booth at the outdoor retailer show. So
exactly. You got to be prepared. Yeah. You have to be prepared to be really uncomfortable and follow through. Because once you get to a certain stage, there's sort of no going back. It's not we're going to sack it now. That's not going to happen. We're determined to do whatever it takes at this point. And
at this point, there's too much that's gone into it. Yeah. You're not going to throw that away. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I would say the next biggest challenge is just when you put all this focus into, I need to just get my product out of customs, and then you have it and you realize, oh my gosh, I have to sell it. Right. Nobody knows. My mailing list is 200 people. Nobody knows I exist. And I don't have a marketing budget. How do people find out? So that's like what we're working on now is, okay, we really have to lean on people and tell them we need help. Can you help us get the word out? Can you help share this with your friends and family, and go to events and pay to play a little bit, sponsoring events and finding the right fit that's worth your while and time.
Yeah.
But it's all fun. And every time you learn what to double down on, which is
you learn
cool.
so much. Yeah. You're getting a master's degree. That's awesome. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And do you get a lot of feedback from customers? I bet you do.
Yes. And somebody else, I've heard several people say it, not only on this podcast, but on so many others when they're talking about the product. You have to just stay focused on what your vision is. And a lot of people have told me you can't be a perfectionist, but I sort of throw that out the window because I don't feel comfortable putting a product out and having people spend money on it if it's not perfect. Mm-hmm. But the reality is, if you think as a consumer of so many things you bought from brands over the years, that you just love it, even if it doesn't fit you very well, and you've been happy with the money you spent. So there's that, like, our last round of joggers, the pattern changed a little bit, and now we're perfecting the fit, and we have to make some changes for fall so that we can correct all the feedback we've gotten and make sure that we're dialed in with different body types and things like that. But I was pretty self-conscious when, like, our shorts, the first round didn't fit completely the way I wanted to, even after we approved a production sample. And what happened is that we went with the fully sublimated color print because the black version of our fleece was on back order, and we just wanted to get them made. So the fleece we used stretched a little bit more and was a little baggy in spots. So now it's fully dialed in, and I'm 120% confident that, this fits everyone perfect. So why wouldn't you love it? And I think it's just, when you get feedback from customers on things you're already trying to change and make better.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you for your feedback. We've heard that from lots of people, and we agree, like, that needs to be taken into account. And so you do learn a ton, and it's really fun to kind of, the most rewarding part is seeing it on all the different ages and bodies.
Right. I'll bet. Yeah. Right. I'll bet. That's very cool. Yeah. How do you see Buttnski evolving in the next few years? You think there's going to, you have other product ideas in the pipeline? Or?
Oh, so many. We have a whole product line in our head, and it's in progress of getting sketched out. We now are working with a product designer and pattern maker who's local here. If anyone is familiar with Leadville, she lives in Leadville, which is kind of a cool high mountain town nearby. So she's helping us sketch out the whole line, and eventually we'll develop samples and prototypes. And so the vision is, we want to complete the women's collection for winter, hopefully by fall, winter of 25. So throughout this winter, we'll hopefully try to come out with a few new pieces here and there, definitely some complementary top layers for the bottoms that we have. And then eventually the men's version of the women's that we have, because a lot of men have asked for where's the down joggers for the men,
Yeah, right.
And even the cheetah shorts, we have some men who have purchased them and worn them skiing because they've been out on a couple cold days and they just can't take it anymore. And they have been like, these things work. When are you making the real men's version? And so, so that's going to be fun. And then we definitely aspire to have a spring summer line, and the primary activities for that will be focused on kind of the bike lifestyle, not sport specific necessarily, but pieces that you can utilize throughout your whole lifestyle being active in the mountains. Very and then cool. Eventually I have a little desire to do something around surf. So that'll be later.
Oh, interesting. Very cool.
Yeah. We'll see. Fun. And all this is kind of hinged on the fact that we want our headquarters to be where we live in Summit County, Colorado, and be able to actually do all of our product design and development here locally, and then even maybe some small batch production.
Oh, wow. Nice. That's exciting. That's great for the community. Put some people to work.
Yeah. We want to hire some people locally and really create a hub for the outdoor industry here in Summit County and on I-70, because oftentimes, reps or suppliers will fly into Denver and have meetings down there with VF Corp and then head up to Aspen for the companies that are based there. And then in between, this is like the perfect place to have fun and stop and,
exactly.
Meeting of the minds. So that's what our goal is. We need help making it happen.
How are you engaging with the community now?
We are 1% for the Planet partner, and we've elected to support one of our local nonprofit 1% partners, which is the Friends of the Dillon Ranger District. So that's fun because they do a lot of trail work, and we can do volunteer projects with them, and they do film premieres and things like that. So it's super aligned to what we're doing, and the places that we're utilizing in the community. So they're one partner. We also have a partner called Venture Birds, which helps get more women and women identifying individuals into the outdoors and proficient on mountain bikes and in the backcountry. So that aligns perfectly to the two things that we love the most is, winter being on your skis or snowboard, and then summer being on your bike, and sort of the whole community that goes around with that. And then we've got some other really awesome supportive partners in town that, they are always down to support us with pop-ups and things like that. But when whenever we do stuff with the Venture Birds or organizations like that, whenever we sell, we usually do a percentage of sales that goes back into their scholarship fund or some part of their organization.
Nice. Well, you have a great community there for doing what you're doing. I mean, it's a lot of like-minded folks, right? I mean,
it's awesome.
Yeah, that's a good deal. What's been the most rewarding aspect of running Buttnski for you personally?
Oh gosh, I was recently at Arapahoe Basin, a basin as you may know it, for some events that were centered around free ride, which come to find out that is like our perfect market. We love free riders and their families because they are just so excited about what their line is going to be and like figuring out the mountain in a different way. And they're standing around in the cold at competitions, especially their parents. So we got to be there, and we got to be there for the 3-star collegiate event, which was so awesome because there were several collegiate teams from around this region, including CU Boulder, Montana State, CSU and Fort Collins. And just the connection I got to have with these, like the students, and then seeing them, like my college experience was definitely different than what I saw theirs being, as far as just like the all the people on the team cheering each other on and supporting each other. And someone would come down from their run, and it would just be like hugs and high fives. And it was really just awesome seeing that, how special it was and how they come together over this sport. So being part of that as a sponsor and then getting to build relationships with the free ride teams and college students was definitely a huge highlight. And we want to do more of that.
Did you not do sports in college?
Well, I worked for the outdoor program at CU Boulder and led climbing trips and stuff in the summer. But I didn't have any, I didn't do any of the school teams.
Thing. Yeah. Team thing. Yeah.
And I don't even think the free ride team really was formed at that time. I'm in my 30s now, so.
You're still a kid.
I'm a kid. Yeah. But I'm not
going to tell you how old I am.
Well, you're retired. So.
That's right. That tells you something right there.
Who's having more fun?
Yeah, you are.
I don't know. I think you are, Rick.
Yeah, you could be right. You could be right. Now that I'm retired, you could be right. No, it's interesting because I played team sports my whole life growing up, and I didn't get into the outdoor thing until I actually almost flunked out of college and went back and found out that I could get a degree in outdoor recreation, and the rest was history. And it's the best thing that ever happened to me.
I only say same on the almost flunked out part. I was on academic probation and barely squeaked out of there for some reason.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I think I got into the college thing a little too much.
I just quit going. I didn't have a major that I liked. I just quit going. And so anyway, discovered outdoor, but being a team guy and then looking at the outdoor sports, they're very individualistic. So you don't get that camaraderie, and some you do, but not like the teams. So I think that's interesting. That
right.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And the cool thing that's happening is this emergence of more women participating. And I have to say, when I'm using that word, I want to be sensitive to the whole, everything that goes around with women plus and women centered spaces and any folks who identify with that. But it is so cool to see women supporting each other out there, because historically, especially, in the outdoors, it's been so competitive. Like, I can't even, you're my competitor and I can't even tell you that you did a good job. Whereas, now it's like when you're standing around as a kind of watching everyone, they're talking about each other. Like, did you see that girl? She just shredded. She's amazing. Like all these women are amazing. And they're just like fully supporting each other and cheering each other on. And it is so cool to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So what advice would you give an aspiring entrepreneur looking to start a business in the outdoor industry?
Oh my God. Be prepared and buckle up. But I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. And I sort of didn't know how to find my way in. So by creating my own business, I think I found my way in. But I think to someone who's not necessarily trying to start their own business, to realize that you could get a finance degree and work in the outdoor industry. It doesn't have to be that you got a recreation degree or that you love to do all the sports. Like, you're still valued for your skill set, because they need every kind of person to be in the industry to make it successful. Yeah. So, and I also worked in corporate after college, and I was making, 6 figures in my early 20s and so miserable because I wasn't in an industry that brought me any joy.
Right.
So if I had done that sooner and found an industry that I loved, I think I would have been a lot happier in my 20s and probably made a lot of different decisions about my life. So I would just say, if that's the industry you're interested in, find a way to get in and work on the ground floor. I know some of the bigger brands require that you work in the retail store before you work in corporate. And I think that's awesome. Yeah. So don't be afraid to do that and start it early, so that by the time you have the skill set, you already have the experience.
Yeah. That's good advice. Yeah. Because the outdoor industry, all these businesses need all these jobs done, accountants and HR and all these things. So whatever you're in, if you're into that thing, there's probably a place for you in the outdoor industry. These businesses have gotten a lot more grown up and sophisticated and large now, some of them. So they need all the roles filled. That's cool.
Well, and people in this industry, more than any other I've been in, because I had a brand design business prior to this, after my corporate time. I was working with clients in tech and anything food, whatever. I have never found such amazing humans to work with. And I feel like I get to be fully me every time I jump on a Zoom call or ask somebody a question or email with them. I don't have to pretend like, I'm going into work mode now and I'm going to be creative Kelly in my fancy outfit, Right. Yeah, and that's a good feeling. Like, the people in this industry are awesome.
It's a very tight-knit industry. There's a lot of friends. There's a lot of camaraderie, a lot of like-minded folks. So yeah, it's fantastic. Good for you. So, what's your favorite piece of outdoor gear under $100?
Oh gosh. So this was I know I've heard people answer this question so often, and it was
the hardest
really
question
hard.
I ask.
I know. So I wrote a few things down, but most recently I have discovered bacon and NOS for bikes are the coolest pieces of equipment, because I use them, bacon for your tires. So if you
I don't know that.
If you ride a mountain bike or a road bike on a tubeless, not like bacon that you would eat, but it's called bacon because it is meant to sort of look like a tiny little bacon strip.
So it's spelled the same way?
Yeah. And it's gummy. It's gummy. And so the idea is, if you get a puncture in your tire on your road or mountain bike or gravel bike, but you're riding without a tube, you can shove this sticky, it's like tar sort of. You shove it into the hole and then pull it out and leave the end. And then you have a flat tire, but it's plugged. And then you take your little can of NOS. I don't know what it's called. That's what I call it. Because we're fast and the furious.
How do you spell it?
And I don't know, NOS, but that's not what it's called. It's the little canisters. Air canisters, like you would put on a whipped cream bottle.
Okay.
And then you pump up the tire like that and you're good to go. So I think that's fun, because I recently I had it in my pack when we were on a mountain bike ride, and like 5 of us worked together and figured it out so we could all learn together.
Cool.
Because, you know, sometimes you buy all this stuff, but you don't ever need it or you don't practice
Some
it
of that
until
stuff,
you need
exactly.
it.
It's like first aid stuff.
Yeah. So that was really fun.
That's pretty cool.
So bacon and nos.
Send me pictures of those 2 things.
Okay. I will.
Those are new to me. I haven't heard of those. First time. So
it's awesome. Pretty cool.
Check those out. And do you read a lot? Do you have a favorite book?
I do read. So I thought about this from the outdoor angle. I love a good novel just to get to bed with, but I'm usually always reading or listening to at least a fun, like historical fiction while I'm listening or reading to a business book of some kind. So Let My People Go Surfing. I know that's maybe a stereotypical thing to say, but I was just always, that really inspired me. And I have it right here on my bookshelf.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Just how to create an environment where people want to come to work and feel supported. I think there's no better example. And then Richard Branson, Losing My Virginity. I remember I was reading that book on a Virgin America flight before they got bought or sold it. And that guy just risked in such huge ways. Like at one point he said, I was $20 million in debt and no bank would lend to me. And so that mentality, knowing that other people have a huge risk tolerance and figure out creative ways to solve it is really, it always is in the back of my mind, you know?
Yeah, that's good. I think I'm kind of that way too. You know, I've been all in on a lot of things and some of them have worked out and some of them haven't. But if you don't go all in, you really never know it because you didn't go all in. Once you go all in, then however it works out, you can say, well, I gave everything I had, you know. And
right.
That's awesome. Cool.
I'm just really inspired by people who are willing to go big in any part of their life.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. Yeah. And so how can people follow up if they'd like to ask you some questions or
we're on Instagram, and don't judge it too hard because it's just me there right now, but we're at Buttnski, which is Buttnski on Instagram. And if anyone is good at TikTok and wants to help us out, just let me know to take us viral. But we're on Instagram for now, and we try to keep up to date with any new product releases or events that we're doing. We're always doing pop-ups and sponsoring some events. So check that out. And then also you can join our mailing list on our website, which is Buttnski, Buttnski.com.
Awesome. Well, we'll put links to all the stuff we talked about in the show notes, and people can follow you and reach out and hopefully get you some more sales.
Well, thank you. And thanks for having me. This was super fun. I have a question for you.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, first of all, though. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's so great. Hopefully in 5 or 10 years, we'll have a bigger story to share.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it in one of your big stores in 5 or 10 years.
That'd be great. Let's do it. So where's your first place as a retired guy you're going to travel?
Oh my gosh, I've already been. It's like, I travel a lot, surprisingly, for various conferences and events and things. And I can't even remember. I was just in Alameda last weekend seeing some friends, but a lot of times just going to see friends, a lot of times just going to conferences. I've been going to the running event, and I'm a member of the Outdoor Writers Association of America, so I go to their conferences every year.
Neat.
I've been to the Outdoor Media Summit. I've spoken at both of those events a couple times. So yeah, I've been to a bunch of shows, you know, so.
All over.
Just getting around. Yeah. I'm trying to think of where I've gone on an adventure. Nothing's coming to mind, but I've been fishing somewhere. I have about 4 guys that I've known since high school, one of them since first grade. And we all do all kinds of stuff together, you know, go to baseball games, go fishing, go do whatever. And they're all coming up here this weekend for a camping adventure. Yeah. So it's going to be a wild weekend. That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's great guys. Like I said, we have known them for a long time, and we just all, you know, played softball together. Some of us played sports in high school together, but we've just been a tight group. So they're good dudes.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't have any friends from that far back. I do have a few childhood friends that I see, like summer friends from growing up at the beach. And that's still fun. But as far as like people I went to school with, that's pretty amazing.
Pretty cool. Yeah. One guy I've known since the first grade. He tells a story of how we met on the first day of first grade. We were walking home from school and we got in a fight. 3 or 4 little first graders got in some fight. Who knows what happened or why. And after the fight, we went to my house for milk and cookies.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
So yeah.
I can't believe you can remember that.
Yeah. It's just, it's super fun. It'll be good to get together with them. Yeah.
Awesome. I'm craving some good camping.
Yeah. I haven't been camping in a while. A lot of trips have been in trade shows and things. So no camping, but this will be a good time. Yeah. It's a little warm up here in Bishop this weekend, but we'll survive.
Oh, nice. That sounds great.
Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's been great talking to you, and I look forward to connecting with you again at one of these shows. I've got to see your product somewhere.
Absolutely. Well, I'll be at WWSRA in Tacoma in a couple of weeks if you're going to be up there, but probably not.
No.
But thanks for having me. This was fun, and I really appreciate you making the time.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Outdoor Biz Podcast. Be sure to visit our website, theoutdoorbizpodcast.com, where you'll find show notes with links to everything we talked about and more. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a single episode. And while you're at it, if you found value in this show, we'd appreciate a rating on iTunes. Or spread the word and tell a friend. That would really help us out too. Be sure to tune in every week. And thanks again for listening to the Outdoor Biz Podcast with Rick Sayes.